Okay, hi class. This is your last lecturette for me before you go on to turn in your researched argument dialogue. That is an assignment that's a newer type of assignment for me. I've only been doing it a couple of years, but basically I think you guys and me both are kind of tired of the same old, let's write another research paper. And this one's kind of a really fun way for me to layer in and look at a lot of different things that you're doing. Number one, I can make sure that you're doing research, which is the number 1 game in this class. Number two, I can ask you, because I've given you 4 different characters. We've got Ermine, Holly Jolly, Bill, Jasmine, and the teacher's thrown in so that you can kind of have easy topic shifts. But basically, each of those characters does different things and values different types of information and sharing it in different ways. So number one, I can see whether or not you can engage in deciphering what is quality evidence and what is not. And also, you can figure out, I can see if you're understanding tone and audience. And also, I'm looking to make sure that you can, hey, sweetie, can you play in the other room, please? And also, I am looking to make sure that you can explain the evidence at a very high level so that you're taking the time to give each character their say and what they think evidence shows. And then on the back side, does it show what that character thinks? Like I've given you a couple of characters that are going to easily argue the counter arguments. Obviously, Jasmine and Bill are going to do that pretty well, and at pushing back on people and making them think in different ways. So this allows me to see your argumentative skill and for you to make sure that counter argument idea is blooming. And that's part of the reason why we did the last 3 discussion boards was, are you comfortable with arguing with people, with pushing them, with getting to them think, with throwing out new information to make them do that. So this is an extension of that. And this is truly where I feel like our class becomes one of those things that's really valuable in life and future college classes in general, because no one cares what you yourself as a lone soul think anymore, unfortunately. They care about what you think and then whether or not you can back that up with quality outside expert, either scientific evidence or expert opinion, anything like that. So for this, as you are sharing this information, you want to make sure that it's either paraphrased, right? And then you still have to ITC and text cite a paraphrased bit of information that a character is sharing. And if something is direct quoted, it is in text cited. Oh yes, I'm having a BBC World News moment. I don't know if any of you have Googled the news anchor, but anyway, so what I want you to do is make sure that anytime you've taken more than 4 words in a row, that it is within direct quotes, okay? It is very important that you do this, because if you do not, it is considered unintentional plagiarism. And this is part of the reason this is the 3rd time I've done this video. So will you please go take these in the other room? Please. You can go get my phone out of my purse and watch something, okay?
Where?
It's in my purse in the kitchen. So basically, what I need you to do is make sure that you are not unintentionally plagiarizing. And this is why I put that anti-plagiarism, the plagiarism turn in, because what that's going to do is once that report's generated, and it might take up to an hour or so, once that report is generated, it's going to spit it back out to you, and it's going to highlight what you've taken from sources. And it's definitely going to highlight stuff in direct quotes, but it's also going to highlight the stuff that you might have forgotten to put in direct quotes. And this is kind of my gift to you, in that is, if that happens, then you need to send me an email and resubmit and correct it, because it is unintentional plagiarism. And that is the kind of thing that in 200, 300, and 400 level classes and grad school they will fail you for. And it is my goal to make sure that you are not doing anything unintentionally in my class. So I definitely want in-text citations to do that. So don't just have, let's say, Holly Jolly pop up and spout off this beautiful thing that some other source said. What Holly Jolly needs to say is, hey, I read this article that was published last April in the New York Times, and it said, okay? So we're giving that signal phrase, that head nod to another source. So don't ever forget to do that in this paper. Don't just drop in pieces of evidence that you found and say, oh, wow, Jasmine is saying exactly this thing, because that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to incorporate and use evidence to buttress ideas, not to steal the ideas, okay? So that's huge. The other thing I really am going to do, and since you watched this video this far, is I'm going to do a little extra credit sheet. Okay, it's a +3, and it's going to look somewhat like this, only typed out. And basically, it's going to have you list the pieces of evidence that each of your characters is using within the discussion. And then I'm going to have you write in another couple little things over on this side. Okay, but basically, it will be +3 points for this. And that will be due the Sunday we get back. Well, just the following week, okay? And it'll be next, I'll have it in under next week. The beauty of this is I'm also going to allow you to turn in your essays, your researched argument dialogues a week late. And for this gratis, I will subtract 3 points. So that means if you decide you want to turn it in late, you do this and you're dead even, okay? But those of you who don't want to and feel like what you have is good to fly, that's great by me. So I will not think any less of you for that. But just don't forget to do your plagiarism check for yourself before you turn it in, because I will assume that you have read that, and I will ding you very, very hard if you have unintentional plagiarism within your particular dialogue. Okay, and let's see. I think that one thing, this is my last little bit, one of the things that I always think is really interesting that happens in regular papers, it happens in class, when I'm teaching live classes, it happens within this dialogue, is that people forget that to really explain what they believe the evidence is showing. And basically that's the analysis part. And I typed some things. Basically, these are the questions that you can ask, and maybe jot them down so that they'll help you. Why is this information important, and why should anybody care about it? Does it matter? And that's after you submit the evidence that you've given, if you've put it forth for the class to hear, in your dialogue. That's what the question you need to be asking yourself. So I just, or you can say, there are consequences to thinking like this or not thinking like this. And what are those consequences? What are the consequences to looking at the evidence this way? And that will also give you a window in on what you might need to talk about. Or maybe you just need to further explain what the information that you're handing, the evidence that you're bringing forward implies. So don't forget, people always seem to cut that short. They just assume that the evidence or the statistic that they give is going to make everybody see things the way they do, and that's not necessarily the case. So make sure to give yourself a sentence or two where you really drive home why that evidence is important and what it's showing, or what it should be showing, and what you believe it is showing, because that's really going to help you round out and develop your points and support your evidence. Okay, well, hopefully that's good news for you guys, and happy spring breaking. Talk to you soon. Bye.